Hey, everybody, welcome back to the show. I've got a guest who is going to teach us about how to get things done. And why is he the guest to teach us this? Well, not only has all seven of his businesses accumulated well over $50 million since he's been in business, but he runs these seven businesses and he is also a full time father, single father, I might add. And he is launching his third book, which I don't know if you know this, but writing a book is not easy. Please welcome Dr. Rob Bess. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here.
It's it, like the conversations off record, like before the camera starts rolling, always so good. So we're gonna have to talk about some of those things that we
Let's
talked
make it
about.
better, I'll say.
So we'll make it better. But you just have such an interesting just story and history and just even how you got to writing these three books. Even, we were talking about your divorce and how your wife abandoned you and your two kids.
Yeah.
But tell us about, what you were like as a kid and then that led you to the moment where you opened up your first business and then your second, third, fourth, all the way up to your seventh.
My childhood was very unusual. It was fraught with trauma. When other kids had stability and laughter and fun in their lives, mine was about trauma and how to try and avoid being hurt. And so, my first book in it, I talk really about those childhood traumas, and they really impacted my life tremendously. My first father, he left when I was 3, but I had a stepfather after that that was mentally, physically, emotionally, sexually, verbally abusive, horribly abusive, and my first 2 near-death experiences were with him.
Mm.
And then my third father that I had, he was a horrible alcoholic, and it's interesting looking back. I learned how to take a punch at 5 years old, but I never could prepare myself for emotional abuse. I don't know how to prepare myself for that, especially at 5. So I would hear daily, "You're terrible. You're no good. You'll never be anything. Just quit now. Kill yourself." And I heard that for a decade. And it stuck with me until probably 10 years ago in my life, that emotional abuse. And so a lot of my early childhood was just coping, just surviving, learning how to survive. Then as I got older, I was a high school dropout, and my grandmother tricked me into taking my GED. And if it wasn't for a letter I got from the dean of the college telling me that I scored the highest that they've ever seen, and it'd be a waste of a beautiful mind if I didn't go to school, I was just going to be a nobody, like my stepfather said. And I realized that I might have a brain, so I decided to go to college. And I was already a serial entrepreneur at that time. I had started a wood chopping business, making more money than my dad by the time I was 14 years old.
Mm.
And I just kept creating all these businesses. And part of the part of poverty, extreme poverty, begets being an entrepreneur. And part of being an entrepreneur and having successful businesses helped to pull me out of that childhood trauma and make me realize that I wasn't who my dad said that I was.
Yeah, wow. Now, did you find that you just being in the service of other people is what helped pull you out of that trauma?
No, I don't think it was so much being in the service of other people. It was learning, number one, that I could make money.
Okay.
Because, it was one of those things. It's very silly, but, when you're in school, kids are terrible at making fun of you. And I got made fun of all the time because I always had the same clothes year after year after year. I had the same clothes. It didn't fit. And I just wanted to have clothes that kids wouldn't make fun of me. The only way I could do that was to buy them myself. And so when I got my first couple bucks in my pocket and I asked mom to take me to the store and I bought a t-shirt, I was really happy. And that was like so inspiring to me that I could pull myself out of the situation.
That you could save yourself.
Yes.
Okay. How old were you when this first happened?
Oh gosh. 8.
Wow.
Yeah.
So you discovered that you could rely on yourself at 8 years old.
I actually discovered that probably earlier, but from a financial perspective. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Amazing. Um, so how did now, and we were talking about you, coming healing from a lot of this trauma and you said that it really started 10 years ago. How hard was it to let that trauma go to really start moving forward?
Most of it I had to let go out of necessity. It
Mhm.
was the ones that wouldn't let go that it was hard to heal from. Like hearing that voice in my head all the time: "You're nothing. You'll never be anything. You're stupid. Just quit now. Kill yourself."
Mm.
Hearing that over and over is what hurt the most. Most of the traumas, I just had to let it go. Just either put them in a box and lock them away, or just not think about it. But most of them I had to let go. But there were the ones that just kept nagging again and again and again and just wouldn't go away. And I
Mm.
remember leaving. I grossed my first million at 27. I remember leaving this meeting that I had with the C-level executives of $1 billion company. And they were in love with me. They loved my services. They loved what I was doing. I was writing software at the time. And I remember driving home and saying to myself, wait a minute, I was so confused. How could this guy, Rob, that just left this meeting that these billionaires loved, be the same Rob that thinks that he's nobody, he'll never be anything, and I should just kill myself? And it
Mhm.
was that drive home when I realized that was a lie. And I needed to stop listening to that lie, and that I was one and the same. I wasn't schizophrenic. I wasn't two different people. I
Mhm.
was the same person. But that business situation helped me to realize it.
Mm. So there's a lot of people that say that when you harbor trauma, you can't really be your best you and just
Mhm.
really move forward and get the things that you want done. How would you say that's true?
But God,
But God.
but God. I would tend to agree with that statement. But I've had a foundation of God since I was a little kid. I gave myself to the Lord at 6 during vacation Bible school, got water baptized, had grandparents that gave me a firm foundation in Christ.
Mm.
And I don't think I would be where I am today without that. I can't tell you how many times I just let go and gave it to God, let go and let God. And if I didn't, I can't imagine what I would have been through if I just kept repeating it over and harboring it to myself, especially some of the physical abuse. I don't know how I would have handled it. So there was a point where I learned that I had to give it to God. Otherwise, I wasn't going to make it.
Yeah, and it is hard to do things by yourself alone, knowing that you're the only one,
That's right.
but you really just you do give it to God. You let him be your business partner and he's
Yeah,
always going to lead you the right way.
absolutely.
But let's talk about how you get things done. I mean, you've just had so much success in a short period of time. You've written these 3 books and my goodness, writing one book is not easy on top of raising your 2 kids.
Mhm.
How now let's talk about the first thing somebody should do when when they have this big obstacle in front of them and they say, "Okay, I've got to get this done." What's the first thing someone does?
You know, I hate to be cliche, but how do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time.
One bite at a time.
So there's multiple steps behind it, and I didn't learn all these at once. But now that I'm older and I've learned them all, I put them all together. So I start each and every day with a prayer walk and just time with God. If you don't have the time to walk, that's okay. Spend some time with God.
Mhm.
And as part of those prayers, I pray about my kids, my business, my family, everything that you can imagine. But I find myself a lot of times talking to God about my business. Tell me what are my priorities. Help me to understand my priorities. Help me to align with them. You know, 7 businesses, not every business has priorities every day.
Mhm.
So a lot of times I find myself focusing on 1, 2, or 3 businesses, not all 7. And so that helps me. I've only got 2 businesses to work on today. And then those 2 businesses, this is what I've got to do A, B, C, and D. So I really take my prayer time and my God time, not only asking for wisdom and discernment and parties, I also ask for God's helper angels. I think we talked a little bit about that before. I can tell a difference between when I've asked God for helper angels and when I haven't. I don't know what it is they do, but I know when I don't ask for them, my productivity is half of what it is when I do ask for them.
Wow.
So there's something out there, and anybody that can look at the camera or can tell us what these helper angels do, I'm all ears because I want to know that because there's
But
got to be a
but
way
you can see the
I can get
difference.
more. I can see the difference. So anyway, I talk to God. I ask for the helper angels, and then I prioritize and I work on the things that are most important. But there's another piece of it that is an overarching piece, and I learned this a long time ago, and I call it compartmentalization, keeping everything in their lane. Being a dad has its lane, being a businessman has its lane, being a Christian business entrepreneur has its lane. And if you let them bleed into each other, it becomes chaos. Chaos. Very quickly, your life becomes chaos.
Mm.
And so keeping things in their lanes. I'll give you a specific example. I typically work till about 5:30. And at 5:30, I take off my business hat and I put it down and I put on my dad hat. And I
Mhm.
don't go back into that business hat again. Now, if I know there's going to be some bleed or there may be, I'll sometimes tell my kids, hey, kids, you mind if daddy takes an extra 30 minutes for business tonight? And I'll keep my business hat on 30 minutes more. But at the end, that's it. I've made that compartment that you go back in your lane business and I'm dad now. And I stay dad until the end of well, at least until I put them to bed. If I'm not too tired, sometimes I put the business hat back on after they go to bed.
Yeah, I know so many entrepreneurs and business owners struggle with letting one part of their life bleed into the other. And actually, that can dilute so much. Separating them, I think, is what strengthens
Yes.
each department.
Yep.
So, when you are separating these, how are you doing that? Like, if you were to give step by step on how to like make that decision and then not let these distractions get in your way, how do you do that?
That's an interesting question. It's been so long since I went into the peace parts of it, but I guess looking at a situation, there was a very stressful situation that happened not too long ago. And it was one that if I didn't keep it in its lane would have bled into everything and I would have been agitated, upset, confrontational. It would have hurt everything that I was doing that day. And I just kept telling myself every time it would pop into my head, not now, not now. You're going to take care of that later. You're going to take care of that at this time. You're going to take. So every time it would pop back into my head, I would remind myself, now's not the time. There is a time for that. And I had set myself a time to deal with it. But I had 8 hours between where I was then and when I had to deal with it. But I had to keep constantly reminding myself, not now. Otherwise, I can't even begin to think if I had focused on the negativity, what had happened if I had let anger get hold of me and started lashing out because of what had happened. It would have ruined everything I had going on that day.
Mhm.
No matter what business I was in, no matter what priority I had, it would have ruined it all. It would have spilled into every bit of
And then, of course, being in a bad mental state would affect everything
it.
else.
Everything. Yeah. And my employees pick up on it. My kids pick up on it as well too.
Yeah.
So you really, it's not something that comes overnight. I think the compartmentalization for me is something that took me probably the better part of a decade to master it. And it takes a long time. And maybe I still haven't mastered it, but I'm quite good at it.
I would say that you're pretty close to mastering it.
Like,
You're very good at it. So, when it comes to prioritizing work, a lot of people think that all work is priority.
Mhm.
And the truth is it's not. How do you know what is priority?
um, I would have to look at each business differently because some business, it's me. It's me, myself, and I. Other businesses, I have a staff. So for the businesses where you have staff, where you have employees, letting them do what they need to do, even if it involves them failure. I want to share with you a story, and I don't know if now is the time about success and failure and understanding where that line is.
Let's talk about that. That's a great story.
I got to share a story. So I was at a client here locally, and they had given me this huge project, and it was due on Friday. Well, Friday came and went, and I didn't think we were ready. I had a team of 10 people working on it, and we just weren't ready. And the CFO asked me, he's like, you done? I'm like, no, 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 I need another day. He didn't look too happy, but he didn't say anything. So Monday he comes up to me, he's like, you ready? I was like, no, 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 we're still not ready. I thought we may be at 85%. And he disappeared, but he came back a couple hours later. He said, Rob, I don't care what you got, where you think you are, give it to me now. And I said, okay. And I gave it to him, and he disappeared for a couple hours. I think he went and had his board meeting, and he came back. He said, what's wrong with you? I said, what? What did I do? I told you it wasn't ready. He said, wasn't ready. He said, that was the best product I could have ever imagined. It was above and beyond what I asked you for. And I started thinking to myself, where did that extra 15% come from that I was trying to accomplish? And I realized it was my own pride. It
Mm.
was my own perfection. I wanted it perfect, and I wanted my team to do everything that they could do to get to my perfection. And it was that day and time that I realized that my 80% was my customer's 100%. And so for that day forward, I quit trying to kill myself and trying to get to my 100% for my own satisfaction and just get to my client's 800%.
So, what were you trying to reach at that time?
Oh my gosh, at that time it was the data, it was the style, it was the format, it was the presentation, there was the nitpicking every little thing that was wrong with it. And it was more than enough for what the client needed. And it was interesting because I heard what the client needed and I had accomplished that, but in my mind what the client needed was what Rob needed. And I was focused on what Rob needed. I didn't go back and remember the client said they only needed this. And now what I was doing was above and beyond. And I looked back, I really did some introspection on that. And I had done that my entire life. In every business I'd been in every situation I'd been in, my own perfection, my own pride. So those of you that are out there that have that perfection gene in you, that you always want to be perfect, there's nothing wrong with it in a sense, but realize when it comes to that perfection gene in your customers, understand what your customer's 100% is as opposed to your 100%. And I bet you'll find that you don't have to kill yourself getting these projects done.
Wow. Well, you know what? So, we're going to unpack that because there's one thing in there that I know everybody struggles with, which is pride.
Mm.
And whether that comes in the form of perfection or it's not good enough or I'm not good enough, how do you remove pride from you so that way
Mm.
you can give yourself and your work to the person who needs it?
Wow. So it was another situation at the same company, same business, same employees. And I had a staff of 12 there. And we were working on another project and they just weren't doing it the way that I wanted to. And I remember we were in a conference room and I was frustrated. I was super angry. I'm like, okay, fine. You want something done right, you got to do it yourself. So I took the work back from almost everybody and started doing it myself. And I'm watching my employees like this around the room, just watching me do it by myself. And I'm thinking to myself as I'm doing it by myself, all right, Rob, something's not right here. You have 12 employees standing around doing nothing and you're doing everything. Okay, something's wrong with this picture. Are they not good enough? If they're not good enough, why did you hire them?
Mm.
And it was then that I realized that I didn't trust them, and I should have. I hired them. They had the skills that they needed, but it was my pride that was not trusting what they were doing. And it was also my perfection combined with that pride.
I'm sure it made them feel a certain way too.
Yeah. You want to talk about, I mean, I think I lost a couple of employees that day. Not that day, but later on because of that day.
What did they feel by you doing that?
Frustration. They couldn't do anything right.
Mm.
And I think the big takeaway from it was that as an employer, we have to be willing to let our employees fail. We have to be willing to let them make mistakes and learn from their mistakes. So, life lesson number one for me here today: nobody's perfect. Nobody, including myself.
Mhm.
And because we're not perfect, it's not about perfection. It's about how we recover from our mistakes that makes us who we are.
Mm.
So, let people make mistakes.
Yeah.
See how they recover. Now, if they take no ownership whatsoever, they wasn't me, it was the dog, whatever, that tells you something about their character. And maybe they're not the right person for your company or for you, even in a personal relationship. But if they recover well, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. I knew I let you down. I knew I should have done this and that. And I was too embarrassed to come say that I needed help. It's how they recover. I'm teaching my kids the same thing because none of us are ever going to be perfect, no matter how perfect that perfect gene that's in us, no matter how strong it has a hold over us. We will never be perfect, ever. Only Jesus was. And so we have to look at the recovery then. If
Mhm.
you're going to make a mistake, how do you recover from that mistake? And to me, that's the most important piece.
Yeah. Yeah. It's interesting too, so my husband served in the Air Force for 15 years and he often tells me the briefing is important, but what's more important is the debriefing
Mm,
to go over what mistakes were made and how to
wow.
make those better.
Yeah.
So I think debriefing and even doing that with yourself
Mm,
to reflect on that, I think that's really important.
for
I
sure.
think it's great that you said that. How do you know when your work is good?
My clients are happy.
Mm.
That's the biggest one. Now, if you don't have any clients, that makes it a little bit different. Depends on the business that you're in. But I'm in software and also in technical consulting. So it's really easy to see when my customers are happy. On the
Mhm.
software side of things, if they don't like my software, I hear about it big time.
Yeah,
And so a lot of times, some of that feedback drives the innovation, which
that
is great.
that feedback loop is so important.
Yeah.
It actually is what drives our innovation.
Yes.
We have to pay attention to
And
it.
in your personal life, you're going to get that feedback from somebody in your life. You may not want to hear it. You may have blocked that person mentally already.
Mhm.
More than likely, it's your spouse. You're going to get that feedback. And so it's important to listen.
Yeah. Now, a part of getting things done is really eliminating the distractions and just
Mm.
staying focused. I mean, hyper focused.
Yeah.
How do you do that? How do you make sure that there's no distraction and that you can just really get your task done?
Wow. Um, a lot of it is environmental. So I work primarily from home, but when I'm at home, my kids aren't there. During the summertime, it's super hard. As a matter of fact, I remember putting black tape on the ground at the entrance to my office because there's no door. And
Oh,
I told my kids, I said, that's a door. And if you cross over that door, you're interrupting daddy's business.
so
And you
you made
can't do that.
boundaries.
I made a boundary.
Yeah.
So a lot of it is environmental. You've got to be in an environment that is conducive for you to not have distractions.
Mhm.
If you're in a place where you're constantly shiny ball, shiny ball, shiny ball, it's, whatever it is, if it's somebody driving by, somebody knocking on the door, somebody talking to your seatmate, whatever it is, those distractions are going to really complicate your work. So
Mhm.
it's really a lot of it is environmental. And then the second part of that, I think, is more mental. You just have to be strong mentally. You have to be able to say to yourself, no, it's not the time to do that. No, I'm not going to get up and go do this. I'm going to focus on what I need to get done until it's done.
Mm. It's going to lead me to a question. How important is it to develop your why before you start doing something?
Develop your why.
Your why. Like
Very.
why your purpose for even doing this task.
Yeah, it's very important. You have to, I don't know that I do a single task out there without understanding why I'm doing it.
Mm.
And I never really looked at it from that question, that vantage point of asking yourself the why, it just comes naturally. Why am I doing this? And there's sometimes that when I'm answering my why, I'm like, I don't need to be doing this. This is somebody else's job. It's not mine. I have staff that needs to do that. Why am I doing their work?
It's like a light bulb
Yeah,
moment for you.
absolutely. So I like that to be able to ask yourself. I didn't realize I was doing it, but yes, I ask myself why on almost everything that I'm working on, and it's helpful to me. There's a lot of times I just pass it off to somebody else if it's their
And
responsibility.
sometimes they do it better than us,
Sometimes they do
and
it
they
better than
enjoy the
us.
work.
Yeah,
Yeah.
pressing into that relationship is really really important over the years and employing many people. It's interesting. I've done several disc test assessments, and on the first one I was a brick, and I understood it. I'm an A-type personality. All time, get into the meeting, start the meeting, just start going. And one of the assessments came back and said, if you just spend 5 minutes being personable with your staff, you're not going to believe the results. And I'm like, yeah, right, whatever. So I tried it. And I would spend 5 minutes. How was your weekend? How are your kids? How's your wife? And the productivity that came out of my staff was amazing.
Mhm.
Absolutely amazing. One of them even took me out to lunch and said, Rob, I'm shocked. I don't know what's happened to you, but I actually feel like you care about me.
Oh, wow.
And I mean, it wasn't that I didn't, I just never showed that side of me. It was all business all the time.
Yeah, yeah, and happy employees do work harder.
They sure do.
They feel appreciated.
Yes.
Um, Man, I had a good question for you, but it escaped me because I was listening to your story. I'm sure it'll come back.
It'll come back.
Yes, actually, it came back.
Okay, good.
Let's talk about building your lane. So I like to call building your magnificent lane, where you just stay in your lane. While you're building your lane, how do you not look into someone else's lane and start comparing your life to theirs or your work to theirs?
I mean, from business standpoint, there's always that because you have competition. So I encourage you to look at your competition and see what they're doing, how they're doing it, their success, and everything else. Especially in the world of AI these days.
Mm.
If businesses haven't heard about AEO, they need to know about it.
What is that?
So Google searches were down 13% last month, month over month, for the first time in Google's history. The
Mm.
why? Because people are searching in AI now, not in Google. So everybody that's spent decades focusing on SEO, search engine optimization, that's through Google, that's through Yahoo, Bing, etc. Well, that's now changing to AI.
Mm.
So if you haven't repositioned your business and your marketing strategies and your website to be AI enabled, you're going to suffer.
Wow.
Mhm.
So it's already taking
So I'm
effect.
sorry, I completely went out of the
I'm
lane that you
like
were asking me
I am
about.
like so enamored now. I'm gonna have to ask you more about that. So what is that called again?
AEO. And
AEO.
there's AEO and AIO. AIO is artificial intelligence optimization, just like search engine optimization. And I think AEO is, I believe it's answer or something. I'll have to look up the acronym.
Mm,
But they're both related to AI. And have you used AI? I'm assuming you have.
yes, yes.
And do you ask it typical things that you would have asked Google just last year?
I ask it actually more in-depth conversation. I ask more
Exactly.
in-depth questions, and it gives
Exactly.
me really good answers.
So when you ask it a question, when it goes searching, it's searching for 7 different components of your website or your business or whatever it is that you're searching for, that it's friendly to AI.
Mm,
So, and once it finds that a website or a company has that, man, it latches on, it grabs it, and it repeats it back to you.
interesting. Wow. We are gonna have a conversation about that. But right now, it's getting stuff done. So, when it comes to getting stuff done, you mentioned that you are really good in operations.
Yes.
Now, when you are in operations, what is your objectives when you're like in operation mode in your businesses?
First and foremost, to find blockers. You can have the best laid plan and you can have the best team.
Mhm.
But if you haven't looked at what's going to block you from being successful, it's going to block you.
Let's talk about that. What's a blocker?
A blocker is something that will prevent you from achieving your goal.
Okay.
I mean, there are things that will cause you to stumble, cause you to maybe not have an optimal outcome, but a blocker just means just that you're being blocked. So
Mm.
something that will prevent you from even pulling off whatever you wanted to. And unfortunately, I've been around business long enough to know that there are blockers that are out there. And if you didn't think about them in advance, they're going to shut you down.
Wow, this is a big one. I've never given it a name or even known it's called a blocker. So how can you identify what a blocker is?
When you're going through in your mind different scenarios, what if we do this? What if we do that? Okay, and maybe you focus on one thing, like for example, selling tickets to an event. Okay,
Mm.
how are we going to sell? Who are we selling to? When are we going to sell? What's the price? And there's 10 different questions, 100 different questions that are behind that. During that process of discovery, you're going to discover a couple of things where you're going, "Ooh, I didn't really think about that." That may have a big impact.
Mhm.
That's where you start discovering those blockers or potential blockers. Number one, you didn't know about it. You didn't think about it. Number two, you're thinking to yourself, oh my gosh, I need to focus on this. I need to research and I need to find out more because it's that concerning or that alarming to you that you really want to know more about it to make sure that it doesn't harm you.
Right. Wow.
Mhm.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Um, what else could possibly affect somebody from really just getting that task done in operations?
Distractions.
Distractions.
Distractions. Um, there's a myriad of responses to that. So distractions, blockers, um, not really having the right skill set, I
Mhm.
think is another one. Uh, unfortunately, in the age that we're in, a lot of people, what's the genre? Fake it till you make it,
Yes.
right?
And
And
then you just
so,
drop everything when you made it.
yeah, and or they make you think that they can do it, and then when it comes time to deliver, they're like, yeah, I really didn't know that.
Have you ever hired somebody who was like that?
I hired and fired them the same day.
Oh,
I hired them and I fired them on their very first day because we actually gave them tests. Did you know how to do this? Did you know how to do that? Because I wanted somebody with a specific skill set. And they got there the first day. I said, okay, I need you to do this. And it was that skill set. And the girl's like, oh, I don't know how to do that. I'm like, what do you mean? You took the test. You even passed the test. So you don't know how to do that? And she pulls out a magazine and the cover of the magazine said, fake it till you make it to the top. I'm like,
I can see why you don't like that phrase. I can see why.
so I let her go right then and there. I'm like, no, that's not going to work. And there's been a couple of times that I've had team members that just couldn't produce, and I didn't understand the why behind the non-production.
Mhm.
It may not have been that fake it till you make it, but for whatever reason, they just didn't have the right skill set.
Mhm.
So encouraging your team to let them know that it's okay to say, I can't do that. It's okay to say, Rob, I don't get it. It's okay. So fostering that environment where honesty is the most important thing. If you said, I've tasked you with this, and you look at them and say, can you do it? Having them feel comfortable enough to know that if they say no, it's not going to hurt them.
Yeah.
Because I'd rather know that you can't do it and find somebody else that can than find out you can't do it when I need it delivered.
And you just wasted time. Mm.
Mhm.
How important is it to make quick decisions?
Oh, you have to. As a leader, you have to make quick decisions. It doesn't mean that you make snap decisions. You make informed decisions. So every day I pray for discernment.
Did you say snap decisions? What is that?
Sometimes you might tend to make a decision without really thinking through it. You just think you're in that mode. You know, somebody's got a list in front of you. Yes, no, yes, no, yes, yes, no, no. Those may be snap decisions. You're just making a decision. You may not have put much thought behind it. Hopefully, your discernment, you know enough about the topic that you're on, and you're not being blindsided by anything, and you have a trustworthy staff member or team member that is asking you those questions. Where I run into some of the challenges is when somebody's asking me questions that I don't know. Somebody outside, you know, a tax person or something like that, outside my business, and they're asking me a whole bunch of questions. I'll pause. I will purposely pause and say, "Don't get it. Don't understand. You're gonna have to explain that one to me."
And I think they appreciate that.
I don't know if they do or not. I don't care if they do or
That's great. Well, okay.
not.
Well, okay.
Especially if I'm paying them, right?
But yeah, this is true. But okay, so so sorry. That was so good. These are my favorite podcasts, by the way. Like, where it's just like an easy flowing, just casual conversation. Because I would really ask a question like that in real life. So, what, w- when you're getting stuff done, like a decision has to be made. But what are the pitfalls of somebody who is indecisive?
Your team stagnates. Your team gets hurt when you can't make a decision, and they look at you more not as a leader, but as somebody that is indecisive. And that
Mm.
hurts the entire team from multiple
Do they lose
levels.
trust in you?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And they begin to wonder, some team members may think they can do it better than you. That's very dangerous for a situation where you're the manager or you're the leader.
I'm sure.
Yeah,
Wow. Wow. So is it true that once you lose a team member's trust, it's really difficult to get it back?
it is. It really is. Well, it depends on how you've lost it. If you've lost it from a financial perspective, it's nearly impossible to get it back. I focus a lot of my time and effort on financial in a way. Let me explain. I have this thing that I do quarterly where every person takes it and it's an evaluation. There's an acronym for it, and I'll remember it in a minute. But it basically looks at their immediate goals, 1 year, 3 year, and 5 year goals, what they want to be in their life, where they want to be, whether it's with your business or not.
Mhm.
And it was interesting, the first time I handed out to my employees, they were reluctant to do it because there was a lot of it that was talking about them as a person and what their personal goals, a personal professional planner, PPP, I think it is.
Mhm.
But it talked about their personal goals and they weren't sure they wanted to share them with me. I'll give you one example. One of the ladies wanted to start her own business and
Mhm.
she was very hesitant to tell me that she wanted to start her own business. Well, when I found out about it, I was so excited for her. I'm like, that's fantastic. I said, I'd love to help businesses. I'd love to mentor you through this. The most important piece of advice I can give you is don't quit your day job until it costs you money to go to work. And so I give that advice to every young entrepreneur. If you have a day job and you're making money, don't quit. You keep that day job until your business is making enough money where it costs your business money for you to go to your day job. Does that make
Mhm.
sense?
Yeah. How did she feel when you told her that?
She was so excited. As a matter of fact, every employee, there was 7 of them I gave this first test to. And up until the interview, when I went through the sheet with them, they were so apprehensive. They were so anxious. They were so upset or worried and everything else. But afterwards, my productivity went through the roof. Several of them had financial goals. I want to buy a house this year. I want to get a new car this year. I want to make more money. One of them was she didn't feel like she was using her skills that she learned in college. She was a new college graduate, and she really wanted to do back end programming versus just front end web development.
Mm.
And I said, I didn't know that that was one of the things you wanted to do. Well, guess what? We've got an opening for back end development. Let's try you out. And that was an immediate. I mean, I would have never known. She probably would have searched for other jobs thinking that this is all she can do with our organization. And I may have eventually lost her. Now she's one of the happiest employees that I have.
That's
So in
amazing.
each and every situation, everyone was different, all 7 of them. There was something that I could come alongside and every single one of them as a business owner to have the business help to them to meet their expectations. There was
Mhm.
one that we couldn't. One of them was them growing outside of our organization. And I was still supportive of that. And they were shocked to find out that I eventually knew maybe after year 3 or year 4 that they were going to move on and do something else. But I was still supportive of them in that.
Mm. Yeah, so I guess it would be crazy for a business owner to think that people would stay with them forever and not move on to something different, right?
Loyalty is hard to come by. And sometimes, hiring people that you know are going to be loyal to you is fraught with its own problems.
Mm. Yeah, I can see that.
Don't hire friends. Don't hire family.
Oh God, no, don't. I made that mistake once. I won't do it again.
Yep. Yep.
So, before we move on to the next topic, I want to ask you this final question about decisions.
Yes.
I know everybody struggles with this because everybody wants to know they made the right one. How do you know you made the right decision?
Sometimes the answers are immediate. Sometimes it takes some time to understand them.
Mhm.
Um, Number one, making a decision, whether right, wrong, or indifferent, is the right answer. You have to. As a leader, you have to make decisive decisions, and your team has to be able to know that you're going to make a decision, whether it's hard or whether it's easy, and they're going to move forward. They're going to be able to go to you, get a decision, and move on. If you do make a mistake and you find out that you made a mistake, again, it goes back to our earlier conversation of how you recover from it. Telling your employee, man, I really screwed that one up. I didn't realize this, this, and this.
The
Let's try it
accountability
from
is
this
so
way.
important.
It really is. I mean, we're going to make mistakes as leaders, especially if we're making quick, educated decisions or non educated decisions.
Mhm.
We're going to make mistakes eventually. So it's how you recover from them. It's how you look at your team member and say, man, I really screwed that one up. Let's try again.
Yeah, yeah.
So a lot of times you can tell how you did through your customers. You can tell your decision whether it was good through analysis. You can tell through your team members. And sometimes you can tell through your family. So there's little feedback markers that you'll get all over the place if you're paying attention to them.
Mm. So I feel like this is going to tie into like the decision conversation we had because it relates to so much of it. But I want to talk about goals and
Mm.
standards.
Okay.
How do you help your employees set goals, and how do you help them develop standards?
So the goes back to that PPM or profession, whatever the acronym was, where we do personal and professional goals. So it starts there. It's quarterly. We review them every single quarter. They write them down. We'll see if we're on track or we're not on track. That's been a huge help. If you haven't instituted something like that in your organization, I highly recommend it. It works on every organization, and it really helps you to understand your employees and what their goals are. Do it for yourself also. If you don't have goals, there's a couple of different quotes in the Bible I was trying to reference, but I can't think of them right now. But you must have goals for yourself. Whether you achieve them or not, you got to have something to attain. You have to have something to reach for. And it helps keep you motivated.
Mm-hmm. With the standards too, I know that standards are hard to meet sometimes depending on like what mood you're in, but how do you help keep the standards high in your business and in personal life?
In the business life, the standard, especially in the software, I mean, the standard is pretty straightforward. Does it work? And if it
Does
doesn't
work.
work, you need to make sure that it does.
Yeah.
And there can be some other standards. Is it simple to use? Sometimes we make things so complicated and we don't realize that
The
they're
simpler the
complicated.
better.
So making it simple, the old cliche of KISS, keep it simple, stupid, right?
Mhm.
So from that perspective, I think it's from the software perspective, it's easy to know what those standards are. Um, in businesses outside of software, I think everybody has some criteria that they can use to help drive the standard. Excellence in customer service, or you want to have the best tasting, whatever it is that you're making, right? So you can set those standards. You may not always be able to achieve them. And if you're regularly not achieving them, take a look at your standard again and see if maybe you set the bar too high. And then adjust the standard to what's achievable, what's obtainable. On the personal side of things, especially with two young kids, it's really driven by them. It's really understanding what they need, what affects them, what impacts them, and just listening to them, listening to how they react, listening to how they talk, listening to what they like and they dislike. That's what really sets the standard. However, I have to say for myself as a father, the biggest standard that I have is that I have to be disciplined, and I have to discipline them, and I also have to be disciplined. Um, Telling them that there's a consequence and not having a consequence. That's like my cliche on Italian stop signs. It's like an Italian stop sign. If nobody's coming the other way, nobody stops, right?
Mm,
Well, why have a stop sign? It's just merely a suggestion. So same thing with discipline for your kids. If you're going to have a consequence, have it. Otherwise, it's just merely a suggestion.
yeah.
So, and there's a lot of times, and I can share a funny story with you, that you've got to have that discipline in place. If you said that you were going to do something, do it. Hold yourself to it. It may be the hardest thing in the world, but you got to hold yourself to it because your kids are watching. They're paying attention, and
Yeah.
it sets a boundary for them moving forward.
Mm. Sometimes when we want to get stuff done, we just want to get it done so fast or we have a deadline to meet. But how do and sometimes some people, they'll just forget about their standards
Mhm.
to meet someone else's. But how do you remind yourself to go back to the standard you set for yourself so you don't sell yourself short as well as the other person?
It's really, for me, it's every step of the process, every step of developing whatever it is that you're doing. You've got those standards in mind. And I think you're going to know early on whether or not you're going to be able to meet the standard. And if it's that prevalent that, oh my gosh, I don't know if I'm going to be able to meet my standard, that's when you start asking some more difficult questions. And maybe if you're not the boss, you need to bring the boss in and say, listen, I'm concerned. We may not meet our standard level. And I know you want excellence, and I know you want the best tasting cookie, and this is going to prevent that from happening. What do I do?
Mm.
But you're gonna find that early on. It's not something that just got you at the end when you're all said and done. You're gonna see those events, so you're gonna see those things happening along the way.
Yeah. I know myself, along with many, many people, struggle with that. It's just, not sticking to their standards, but then going back and asking yourself that really deep, tough question.
Mhm.
And I think those tough questions give you really good answers,
Absolutely.
truthful answers. It's funny too because I was just talking to a client before I came over here. She found me from Instagram, and then she's interviewed a couple different people, and then she was like, "Erica, I'm gonna move forward with you. I'm gonna be out the week of the 19th." And oh my gosh, I keep having brain farts. Oh my god. Um, man, I had a great. I've been doing that a lot today. But anyways, the reason why she ended up hiring me is because I would not deviate from my standards.
Mhm.
I told her, "This is how I operate. It's all in or it's nothing."
That's very attractive to a lot of customers. Very attractive.
It's because you stand by your principles.
Yes.
It means if you stand by your own principles, I'm gonna stand by yours.
Yes.
I'm gonna make sure that I'm not gonna deviate from your plan and your goal. And that's something I'm gonna start teaching my students.
Mhm.
Stand by your word. If you speak with conviction, certainty, competence, and confidence, you'll win everybody.
Absolutely.
Because that's what people want. Nobody
Well,
knows what's
and
gonna happen in
advertise
10
that too.
minutes.
Advertise that. Figure out what those standards are, and sometimes that's the niche that sells your business.
I think so. And I think people are after the conviction and if I was to
In
say
today's world,
the
absolutely,
conviction
yes.
and the certainty, because nobody knows what's gonna happen in 10 minutes,
Yeah.
and people wanna know. I mean, that's why they ask AI what's
They
gonna
used to
happen.
always say, in my grandparents' age, they used to get above and beyond what they paid for. And my parents' age, they sometimes got what they paid for. In our day, we don't ever get what we pay for, hardly ever.
No, we don't.
And so that quality of service, that quality of care, that level of care has gone down tremendously. So of course people are wanting that honesty, that sincerity, those standards that you're talking about in your business.
You know what's interesting too is business, in my opinion, it's easier than ever
Hmm.
because the bar is so low.
Yeah.
It's so low. So if you just do a little bit, if you just do what most people want, which is just have integrity, communicate properly, and just work a little bit harder,
Hmm.
I mean, you'll just be very profitable.
Yes,
And it's
possibly.
yeah, and it's not that's true, possibly, you know.
It did. First thing that came to mind when you said that was people, a lot of times when they start, young entrepreneurs, when they start businesses, a lot of times they want to gain market share by cutting price. And I know that's a strategy, and that's a winning strategy for a lot of times. But if you don't raise your price back up, number one, you're on a race to the bottom, a race to no money whatsoever.
Yeah.
And number two, you're not establishing your brand well. So do you want to be the cheap Chinese toy brand, the plastic, whatever? Or do you want to be the metal German brand, right? Whatever it is. I'm sorry about that analogy, but um, your decisions on that help you to not only establish your brand, but figure out what your price point is.
So if we're talking about brand,
Hmm.
and this is something that I am actually studying right now, and I think it's incredibly important. But I want to ask you,
Okay.
how important are testimonials?
Extremely important. Number one, on my websites, 3 of my business websites, testimonials are on the hero carousel.
Your hero carousel. Why are testimonials? Why does the testimonial? Why is it such a big part of building a brand right now?
Because it's not you telling people about your business. You're going to say anything you want to about your business. But if it's true and it's honest, that's other people talking about your business. So they get to see inside. It's almost like watching a podcast. It's almost like watching a video. You get to hear somebody else and what their opinion is of that business. So that's why it's so important. It's not coming from the business itself. It's coming from their customers.
So good. Rob, I got to tell you, you were in the hot seat and I've just been spitting all these tough questions at you and you've just dominated the answers.
I appreciate that.
But
Hopefully they're good.
no, I mean, you've been fantastic. I'm going to ask you 3 questions.
Okay.
You ready? Question number 1, where do you see yourself in 5 years?
Wow. I just had this talk with God not long ago. God willing, a lot of what I've done in my businesses could potentially create generational wealth. And that would be amazing coming from a generational curse of poverty I've had on most of my life. Um, if that's the case, if I'm understanding correctly, I really want to take my kids and travel the world and be the hands and feet of Jesus. If we're going to have generational wealth, I want them to know how to steward it well. I want them to know what to do with it, whether we're building churches, schools, orphanages, hospitals, whatever it is. I want them to be part of it. I want them to help build it. I want them to spend the money. I want them to see the money going in and out.
Mhm.
I want them to be able to steward it well. Because if there's generational wealth, I don't want them to be like most of the stories you hear about the billionaires' kids that just, frittered away all the money.
Mm,
That's number one. So I would love if that's where God wants us to go, just to try and be the hands and feet of Jesus out there.
I love that. That's so deep. And that is something I've been saying to myself, along with other people that I meet that are in search of Jesus or just want to learn to get closer or just want to learn how to just be better.
Mhm.
And I say, you just master being the servant. Be
Servant
the
leadership.
Just be the best servant you
That's right.
can, and you will become the person you were always meant to be, and the outcome will take care of itself.
That's right. Walk in with your towel on, not your suit.
That's good. Knowing what you know today, what would you
Mhm.
go back and tell your 20-year-old self?
Oh my gosh. Don't believe the lies.
How can you spot a lie?
Well, this was more related to being told that I was never going to succeed in everything. But
Mm,
I think for me, it's more biblical. Um, Fear is not of the Lord. And if you're hearing something that your body's telling yourself over and over, and it instills fear, fear of the outcome, fear of your life, fear of people around you, it's probably not from Him. And more than likely, if it's not from Him, it's from the adversary, and we know he's the king of lies, right?
mm,
So that's a big picture spiritual look at it. But let me bring another spiritual aspect of it. You'll know by its fruits. So you can look at a statement and understand, are its fruits good or are its fruits bad? And that's a quick A/B test to know. If the fruits are bad, it's more than likely it's probably either based on lies or there's something that's just not right about it. So look at the fruits.
yeah, look at the fruit.
Mhm.
You're a fruit inspector. So, do you believe that? I believe this. I would love your take on it.
Okay.
I believe that God does not tempt, but he will allow temptation
Oh, without a doubt.
to test our faith.
I agree. And not only that, I don't feel that he ever gives us anything more than we can handle. So if that's the case and we feel so overwhelmed, where did that come from? If he's not going to give us more than we can handle, why do we feel overwhelmed? It's because we've done that to ourselves. We've allowed the lanes to spill over and make chaos into our lives. So when you do look at something in your life and you're saying, this is too much, I can't bear this, right? First and foremost, give it to God. But then realize that if he's not giving you anything more than you can handle, maybe you've made a mountain out of a molehill. Start
Yeah.
unpacking that.
Yeah, through your own will.
That's right.
Whenever I talk about tempt, I always think of Job and the story and just everything at the end of it, poor Job.
Yeah.
But at the same time, he would yell at God. He would talk to him and tell him why, ask him these questions. But at the end of it, it was all a test.
It was.
It was all a test, and he passed to just show how much he did believe and trust and have faith in the Lord.
Yes.
And he was better at the end of it.
Absolutely.
My last question,
Last
favorite
question
question.
already?
Last question, favorite question is, what does success mean to you?
Wow. These days, success is kingdom. It's all about the kingdom. There was a period of time in my life when success was money, success was fame, it was power. But as I've gotten older and realized that all those things are fading, they can go away in an instant. All of it. Success is really about: are you being obedient to the kingdom, to God? Are you being obedient to what His will is for you? Because I guarantee you, if you've been through anything in your life, any type of trauma whatsoever, you're still alive, you're still breathing, you have a purpose. And then you may not have figured out what that purpose is, but know that you have a purpose and know that God wants you to do something with your life. Whether it's business and testimony, whatever it is, you do have a purpose. Help to figure out what that purpose is. You can do it through, self-help, through podcasts like this. You can do it through your spiritual mentors. You can do it through reading the Bible. There's lots of ways to figure it out, but there is a purpose. I say in my book, if you're alive and breathing and you've been through trauma, then figure out what your purpose is, because you're here for a reason.
So good. I think we talked about this over the phone,
Mhm.
but it was from Pablo Picasso. The purpose of life is to find your
Yes.
gift, and the
Yes.
meaning of life is to give it away.
Yes. I love that.
And that's all God wants, is for us to feel joy.
Yeah.
And I think that's what he wants. He wants to
I
feel
agree.
joy.
Well, something else too. Let's go a little bit deeper on that if we have the time. I'd like to pull back to.
We have a little bit of time, yeah.
So in my particular case, 13 times the enemy tried to take me out, and 13 times God said no.
Mm-hmm.
It took me until the 11th time to figure out that God was saving me, and then I started asking the why. But it occurred to me at some point in time that, why would the enemy keep trying to kill me? Why did I have 13 near-death experiences? And it comes down to this. If you're experiencing those types of attacks on your life, whether they're near-death experiences or not, but if you're experiencing attacks from the enemy, spiritual attacks, spiritual warfare, there's a reason. And the reason is because the enemy is afraid of you, or afraid of what you can do, or afraid of your purpose. Because he doesn't waste his ammunition on nobodies. He wastes his ammunition, or doesn't waste, he fires his ammunition on people he's worried about, he's afraid of, that are going to do something in life. In my particular case, it's not the book, it's not my business, it's all of the above. It's one word, it's multiplication.
Wow. What is that multiplication?
Multiplication is being able to take what I've done and help other people to achieve it. Just like you said, Pablo Picasso, okay? Figuring out what my gift is and then giving it away. So in this particular case, it's understanding that there's a purpose for your life. Understanding no matter what trauma you've been through, no matter what pain and suffering that you've been through, that God has a purpose for you. And once you figure it out and you start living that purpose, it's the most amazing feeling in the world.
Just like Joseph when his brothers sold him into slavery, what they meant for bad, God meant for, he turned it around for good.
That's right.
This has been such a fascinating and just amazing interview, Rob. And I want to say thank you so much for your time and just sharing
Really
your
enjoyed
knowledge.
myself. I can't believe the time's over already.
Yeah, when great conversations go by fast.
Yeah, for sure.
Where can people find you?
Anything related to my book is drrobertbess.com, and that's all aspects of the book and a little bit of personal, but most of my websites are out there. I have social media. I'm all over all the social media. So myself, Dr. Robert Bess, is on the social media. You'll either find the book or me, the person, but I have multiple businesses, and they're all listed on the social media. But Community Engagement One Source, Day One Solutions, Finish Line Software, Global Building Technologies. There's a lot of different things.
Perfect. And if you guys are on video and you can see this, these are the two books. One of the journals he brought. This is a journal, right?
That's the companion journal to the book.
Okay, so these are his two books, and his third one is currently being launched right now. So be on the lookout for it.
Yes.
Lots of good stuff in here that's going to help you heal and get to that next place in life. But Dr. Rob, thank you again for coming
Thank
on
you
the
so much. I
show.
appreciate it.
Absolutely, it's my pleasure. All right, guys, I will see you in the next episode.